Welcome to the Q.A.C. Team podcast, where we dive deep into the journeys of inspiring business owners, bringing you insights and challenges from the entrepreneurs who are shaping our world. Join us as we explore their paths to success. Now here's your host, Charles Luttrell.
Good afternoon, listeners. My guest today is Steve. Steve, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Charles. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the Q.A.C. Team podcast. Let's go ahead and get started and tell our audience a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
So, from a business perspective, I spent 32 years in corporate IT, most of that in the software QA space. Absolutely loved it. I traveled to multiple countries, worked with an amazing set of people. But in 2011, I had some challenges from a health perspective with my wife, and I couldn't do the travel anymore. So at the end of 11, I left my position, which was very good, and because I needed to focus on the family. And then in 2012, I opened up my own business in the education space, and it worked extremely well for 2 years until the expenses started to outpace the revenue.
Oh,
And that's not a good plan or strategy or effect. Maybe a month or two, but not consistently.
yeah.
So I had to close the business, took a huge financial hit, and it all came from not the business and not what I was doing, but it came from a pure lack of financial freedom, financial literacy, if you will. I didn't know even the basic things to do, because when you're in corporate, you don't know. I didn't learn in school, didn't learn in the working world. So when I went into business, it was almost destined to fail. So a couple of years later, after literally going through bankruptcy and a whole bunch of things, which I came out of, thankfully, I now use my experience and my knowledge to help other people not make the same financial mistakes I made, either personally or in business. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. I was going to circle back for a second. I want to mention you had mentioned about the corporate mistakes. I think isn't that something we all fall into? We follow that. It's like a business model that's kind of something that we're told to follow, when there's like no veering off the path, right? We just have to follow one set directive of this is what we do in the corporate world, right?
Right. So the corporate world, again, like anything, there's the good and the bad, depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
So what I found in 32 years, it was great. It gave me the opportunity. I did jump several companies purposely, but that gave me the opportunity to move up in both salary and in position. But if you don't have that opportunity, you can end up in a large corporation, which I was towards the end. You can get locked into a salary bracket forever. You don't have the opportunity to move up. You could have the greatest ideas to help the business or help the clients, but it may not be heard because the structure is set a certain way.
And it's interesting that you mentioned get stuck in that salary. I was headed down that path myself, and that's why I walked away. You know, I saw the future of, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm not going to get ahead. Let me walk away now.
Again, people do, and again, not right or wrong, I'm not making that judgment. Some people feel the safety of a paycheck. Some people feel the safety of, I go in at 9, I do my thing, I leave at 5, and I'm okay with that. And that's great. A lot of people do that, and that's okay. But for that small group like you and I who want
like
more, corporate is not the way to go.
Yeah. And I had a taste of that back in 2008, when I had my mystery shopping company first go around, 08 to 2012. And I really, that's where I wanted to be, was entrepreneurship. I knew it back then, and that's why I'm in the direction I'm headed now. So Yeah.
Yeah. What I like to say to people is try, and people are kind of forced into thinking a certain way with the blinders on, like a racehorse.
Yeah.
But if you can step back for just a little bit and understand there's a bigger world out there. Now,
Yep.
I'm not suggesting that you or somebody walk away from your full-time job. I'm not suggesting that. But what I
Don't do
am,
what I did, right?
well, I did too, okay? But what I
Split,
am suggesting
split
is
section. Yeah.
is to try on a part-time basis, put your toe in the water and try something different. And
Yeah.
look around, because there's a million and one things you can do on the side. So
Right.
make sure you look around, get a solid, reputable company. Don't spend a lot of money going in if you don't like it. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, but do both at the same time and open your world.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And I'm glad I did, and that's how mine started was, I was a mystery shopper,
Hmm.
and then I got into doing some merchandising, and that's where all this tied in together, back in the day of, I really like what I'm doing, it was fun.
That's you know what? There's a lot to be said for like what you're doing. There really is.
Yeah. I say it a lot. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life,
That is, you know what? That's true. It
Yeah,
really is true.
absolutely. Yep. So you're about financial literacy, and you
Yes.
touched that a little bit. So my next question is going to be: so why did you decide to be a business owner? What drove you to this financial literacy and wanting to help people?
Well, again, it all goes back to coming out of corporate, opening a business, not knowing financially what I was doing. Now, mind you,
Mm.
part of my clientele was the C-suite of major financial institutions. So I had exposure. I had my own business hands on, but
Mhm.
nowhere in there did anybody sit down and explain to me how to balance a checkbook. Um,
Yeah.
how do you invest? What do you invest in? What's something called retirement? We're all going to get there, but nobody explained it to me. Nobody
Yeah.
explained how to save. Um, I learned the hard way. So when I had my bad experiences, that's where I said, I need to help individuals and families, again, not make the same mistakes I made. So I
Yeah.
now go along, and the first thing I do with the individual family, first thing I do is just get to know them. That's the
Yeah.
entire first conversation, is getting to know who they are. I tell them my story.
Yeah.
Then we get into, what are your goals and dreams? Because when I sit down with someone, one of the first things I say to them is, and I don't want any numbers, from a financial perspective, what do you dream about attaining?
Hmm.
Most times people say, I stopped dreaming, because they're in that rut. They gave up on the house. They gave up on the car. They gave up on the vacation. They gave up on saving for college. How can we help you to start dreaming again? And that's where the conversation starts.
That's a great point. And I felt that when you said that, because there are many times where I have given up on my focus and my dreams. And to me, that is a great way to look at it. So it gets your mind thinking and open up again to,
Mhm.
what are your possibilities for your life for the future?
Correct, correct.
You know?
See, the challenge becomes, has over time, and I hate to use this word, but they have brainwashed the public.
Yeah.
You will put your money in a bank at 1%. You will charge on your credit card, and you'll pay the minimum payment. They don't tell you things like, you're getting 1% in the bank, you're paying 20% on interest, which, by the way, the money they lend you on your credit card is that money you put into the bank. So you're getting
Yeah.
1 and you're paying 20. How does that make sense that you're paying somebody 19% on your own money?
Yeah.
These are the things that we educate people on. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. And I think too, it's quick, easy money, right?
Yep,
You're told you get this credit card, you got a $10,000 limit, have fun, it's yours.
correct. They don't tell you
And
about. So here's another one. You buy a house. You take $100,000 mortgage. By the time you're done paying in 30 years, you have paid $300,000.
So true. Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And if look at mortgages nowadays, you're 300,000 and 400,000, you're paying back at least 1.2
$1 million.
million.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you that.
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating.
Very, very frustrating. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So why did you choose this industry, or did it choose you? I hear that so much when I ask this question, why'd you choose the industry? And then they come back and say, well, it kind of chose me,
No.
Talk a little bit about that.
No, I chose it because of the bad experiences I had.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me, I could teach somebody how to write a book. I could teach somebody how to drive a car. But how am I going to change a person or a family's future and future generations driving a car, writing a book?
Yeah.
You can work with somebody, and when you're sitting there explaining things, and all of a sudden their eyes light up, you can see that you struck a chord, that they're understanding, like, oh my God, I've been taken. I really can feed my family. I really can take the vacation. Yes, you can. And it's that, again, I go back to, it's so rewarding. And for me, this was the only industry I looked into, and I did look into a bunch, but this is the only one I found where I can make the biggest impact.
I like it. And that's so true, because how many times do we hear people posting on social media and talking about how we wish the schools would teach this?
They don't. They don't.
Right.
4% of schools across this country teach anything related to financial literacy. 4%.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I have a problem with that. Okay. Really
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Actually, I live in New York, just outside New York City. And in I'm going to call it a town, but it's a much, much bigger. There are 18 high schools just in my town, which tells you, and there's a couple of million people. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I missed the boat for May of this year. So I'm going to start in September. I am going to go into all those 18 high schools and give a free 30 to 45 minute discussion to the seniors and their parents before those seniors go into the real world.
That's amazing.
And again, it's free. I don't care. I'm giving my time, but to me, it's worth it in the end to help people not fall into that trap.
Yeah, I mean, if you can reach a couple hundred students in each school,
right,
and if a handful of those students actually get it and want to learn it, that's progress in the right direction of helping somebody not get in trouble before they turn 25 financially.
Correct. And if it takes that long, usually they'll be in trouble by 19, 20.
Yeah, I was given a little bit there, for a couple of years.
Yeah. I do a free presentation that I entitled "The Credit Card Scam," and it's about 15 minutes, and it goes through the thought process of the credit card company and the thought process of the 18-year-old, and how they can so easily manipulate the child or the student and the parent. And again, it annoys me to no end when that happens. That's why I do what I do.
Well, let's hope your anxiety doesn't go a little high on this one, but you're talking to a guy who, when he finally figured out that he was in trouble, he had 14 credit cards.
Ouch.
Over $44,000 in debt with cards. Yeah.
I hope
you know where that led.
I hope you're okay now.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Way beyond that.
Good.
Way beyond understanding that, yeah, this is not the way to go.
Right.
And I'm actually teaching my kids,
Good.
great things about credit and credit cards
Great.
and how to use it the correct way.
You have no idea how happy I am you just made that statement. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I get into a conversation with someone who gets it, I'm just the happiest person on the earth because not enough people do. And I love
Right.
when I hear those people who do get it. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a while, right? I made the mistakes, and that's what I teach my kids is, look, I made the mistakes. Don't make them yourselves. Let me
Correct.
teach you how not to make those mistakes,
Correct.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your process. So, what's the process look like?
So the process is someone, however they get to me, be it a referral, be it me contacting people, whatever it is, the first conversation again is getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to money, people don't like to talk about it. And I get that. That's why the first conversation is all about, hi, how are you? My name is Steve. This is my background. And I do that first because I want them to understand where I came from, the problems I had. Then they can relate to it.
Yeah.
If they tell me theirs first, then I tell them mine. They can say, oh, you told me that because you were adding on to the problems I had. And I understand that's why I go first, so they know I'm not playing the game.
Right.
Once that conversation is held, then we get into the next conversation is, again, goals, time frames. What are your dreams? And don't limit yourself. What do you really, really want? We'll figure out later what it's going to take to get there. But stop limiting yourself. Take the blinders off. Let's get you out of the rut.
Right. Now, is one of your big questions here and points of interest is the age of the person you're speaking to? Because I'm curious, wouldn't it be different if you're talking to somebody who's 18 versus somebody who is 58?
Absolutely. But that's
Yeah.
part of the whole thing of what are your goals and dreams?
Yeah.
Once we get into the next step is age, we start going into, okay, we do at this point need to know financially, where are you? Income, expenses, assets, liabilities, savings, retirement, all those things. And then the goals, then we go away. And once we find out your goals, dreams, timeframes, we go away and then come back with recommendations. So someone who may be 18 may be able to put away $50 a month for X number of years, and then you can retire when you want to. But the person who may be 55, now you need to put away a little bit more to get to what you would like to do as far as a retirement age and income. So it's all based upon age, income, now the ability to put money away, what's your risk tolerance, all those things. What's your ability or your appetite to pay or not pay taxes? There's all different things that we can do. Now, the beauty of what I do is every conversation I have with a person or family is absolutely complimentary and confidential. There is zero cost out of pocket. If you like the recommendations that I propose, then the companies that I do business with, your Prudentials, your Nationwides, all your A or better rated companies, they pay me. There is never any money out of your pocket.
That's amazing.
And that's a big difference from those that are fee-based, where or transaction-based. Transaction-based is the more transactions they do, the more money they charge you. And frankly, I think that's a ripoff. But okay.
And that's what scares people, right?
Yes.
When I look at financial advising and financial services, the first thing I say to myself is, I got to pay somebody to have this done. I can't afford it.
Correct.
Correct. And I think what you're doing is great, because then that gives me, if somebody like me, it's 54, like, man, I think I can utilize this service myself. I can really dive into this and see what's out there for my future.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing that really annoys me, have you ever heard of the term assets under management?
I have not. Tell us about that.
So, and again, I don't want to beat on any group of people and whatnot, but
Sure,
there
sure.
is, you can have a stockbroker or a financial planner, and they will say to you, invest $100,000 or whatever that number is with me. And you invest, and they get paid a fee, which they're entitled to based on that 100,000.
Yeah.
The more you invest, they continue to earn. The more that money grows, they continue to earn. So they're going to sit there and they're going to say to you, invest the 100 grand, most likely in the market, and we're going to let it ride, because the longer it's there, the more they make.
Sure.
But what happens when the market goes down?
Mm-hmm.
You're in the market, and eventually it will come back. But when? And do you have the time for it to come back? If you're close to retirement, you don't have the time for it to come back.
Yeah, if you're down in the negative and you're trying to retire,
Right.
that's not going to do
Right.
you any good.
Right. So depending on the vehicle you put in, that's something I don't do. I don't do assets under management. I have other vehicles that put your money in a safer place that is not going to go down when the market goes down.
Mm-hmm.
It can only go up when the market goes up. Guaranteed not to lose money. And you're not paying that fee every single time you do a transaction.
Yeah. Sometimes they think that as a maintenance fee too, don't they?
There is a very small maintenance fee, but it
Mm-hmm.
is also much less than you're going to pay assets under management, and you're not going to lose money. So isn't it worth that little maintenance fee not to lose money?
Yeah, if you're not losing money, if you have a maintenance fee that's steady, but your investment is constantly growing,
Correct.
it's a no-brainer,
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It's so much fun again when you can turn a family's life around, their financial life around now and for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that process. I think it's great. So going into our next question, we got onto the process and how you did things. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced when you started putting this together and really working on this and making this happen.
The biggest challenge that I have faced, and I think I alluded to this before, major corporations have told people in various ways through advertising and marketing, this is the way you have to go. You have to put your money in a bank. You have to invest in a 401k. You have to pay minimum balance on a credit card. You have to finance a house. You have to finance a car. Says who? Because
Who are they, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Because every time you have to do something, there's a financial impact to you that you're not told about.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge I have is to educate people and change the mindset of doing something different that will benefit them, not hurt them financially.
Right.
That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. Yeah, definitely. I think, listen to what you're saying and following, where you're headed with this and all. And I agree, those challenges, we get into this mindset of that we do things a certain way.
Mhm.
Humans do what humans do, and that's just how it is.
Correct.
That's just how life is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us are afraid to step out of that comfort zone to try something that may be different, right?
Yes, that is absolutely true. And what ends up happening again, in my experience, in everything that we do, people hang out with people like themselves. That could be education, that could be sports, that could be religion, that could be a family with kids, whatever it is, people hang out with people like themselves, which is great. I've no issues with this. But when it comes to a financial side, if the group you're hanging out with are all similar income, similar financial challenges, people typically in that group don't know any different, so they stay together out of comfort, because there's comfort and misery, or misery and comfort, however that phrase goes.
Misery loves company. You're right.
Thank you. Okay, I knew it was in there somewhere. Okay, but
Yeah.
but because nobody knows any different, would all be out of that rut.
Yeah.
So again, that's the challenge, is how do you get in and educate?
Yeah. And I think you're doing it right. You're going to start in the schools. You're going to get to these kids who are about to experience credit and things that could either help them or hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great start.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So what are your expectations for your business in the next year or two?
So my expectations are, my team and I are going to help 100 families per month by the end of this year, and 250 families per month by the middle of next year. And
that's a goal.
And the way we're going to do that is my team will grow to 50 by the end of this year and 100 by the middle of next year.
Wow.
And it is growing. I'm in 10 states right now. And it's a matter of 10 minutes to get licensed in another state. Just file a form electronically, file a form, pay a fee, and I'm done. Okay.
I was just to ask you about that too. You have to be licensed in each state.
Absolutely. The financial industry is one of the most highly regulated, and it should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely should be. You're dealing with people's money and their futures. Absolutely should be regulated.
I agree. Yep. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a hefty goal. I like that. And I think, in 5 years' time, you're reaching what? 100?
In 5 years' time,
thousands?
In 5 years' time, in less than 5 years' time, my team will be well over 1,000 people across the country.
Yeah. Right. Helping thousands of families.
And it's so there are 158 million people that are deemed financially illiterate.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're bad people. It means they've never been taught basic financial concepts.
Right. I wonder if that number is bigger now.
It might be.
I just throw it out there because that it's huge. There's a lot of people I talk to that they don't know how to invest. They didn't know about investing. They didn't know about, well, what do I do?
Correct.
And again, like you said, right, they're told to invest in a 401k, which right now is not really the best thing to do, but it is something to do. But it's not the best thing to do.
It is. So here's you mentioned 401ks. There are a lot of people who left one job for whatever reason and have gone to another job. When you leave, you go out to your desk, your office, whatever you do, you pack your personal belongings in a box and you walk out the door. But what most people forget to take with them is their 401k.
Yeah.
And when they leave, that money in the 401k is no longer actively managed. And the fees go higher. So one of the missions that I'm on is to find that money and move it into something else. No fee, no tax issues, no anything. Now it can work for somebody towards the future they want to build.
Yeah. If that happened to me, I didn't realize, about my 401k when I left. And then, I actually took care of that. And I actually had to utilize it because I was in I was in a little bit of financial trouble, but I worked it out and took care of all of that and moving forward, moving ahead.
The key is learn. Hopefully it's not too painful, but learn and then move forward and you'll be in a better position.
Yeah. To our listeners out there, I hope yours is not as painful as mine, because mine was downright painful.
Well, I went bankrupt. I lost over 300 grand and went bankrupt.
You lost more than I did.
So I feel your pain.
I am sorry for you.
Feel your pain.
We have the same pain.
Right.
Yours is a little bit more expensive than mine.
But the key, though, for the common thing with both of us, we learned, we had pain, no question, but we learned and we're better going forward.
Yeah.
And that,
because now we're somewhat educated, and then we can pass it on to other people.
correct. Exactly.
Yeah, love it. Yep, love it. Well, Steve, how do our listeners contact you? How do we find you?
So the easiest way is you can email me or the team at services@SteveKentFS, which is financial services.com. So it's services@SteveKentFS.com.
Great. And social media?
I a Facebook page. I have a LinkedIn page. My website is stevekentfs.com. Nice and simple.
Very, very simple. Yep. Awesome. Well, Steve, thanks for coming on and really sharing your story with us. And I hope that anybody listening to this really, will reach out to you and at least, listen to your free offerings that you have and really take on to see what they can do to really better themselves.
Thank you. Like you said, it's just a conversation. It's confidential, it's complimentary. Just have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, Steve, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. You brought back some memories and we had some good laughs about, our past and our futures.
Yes, we did.
I love it. This is a great subject. I think everybody should really, really pay attention to for their future, especially if you're young.
Correct. Correct.
Jump on this. I think Steve's program is really going to be great.
Correct. Thank you so much, Oz. I appreciate your time. Have a great afternoon or
You
day,
too,
evening,
Steve.
wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Yes, sir. Perfect. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Q.A.C. Team Podcast with your host, Charles Luttrell. Connect with us on the web at QACteam.com, Facebook and Instagram at QAC.team. Thanks for listening.